Hey team, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be doing lesson 2 about routing. I have a bunch of other things I got to teach, so let's get into this. This video is a continuation of lesson 1. As you can see from this slide, it's a 6-minute video that will show you how to create the project, install Bootstrap and jQuery, create 3 components, set up app-routing.module TypeScript, and make changes to the Angular JSON file. I recommend you watch this before you watch this video. As you can see from this screen, I'm going to use an HTML table to display information about books and then allow the user to select a row using that view button. That's routing. Notice above that table, you'll see 1 UL table and my channel. Well, that's more routing examples. You will learn how to create a service to share data across several components. And there's a lot of other stuff to learn in this video. We need to create 2 new components. Notice the first command, ng gc book-details space -- skip _ test. That's our first command. It's going to create this book details. Our second command is ng gc page not found and the same -- skip _ test. That will create the folder page not found and create 3 files we need, the CSS, HTML, and TypeScript. Let us create the iBook interface. Do the command ng g interface services. Notice that's the name of the folder /iBook. Now we have to add the fields to the iBook interface. Type in each field name immediately followed by a colon and then followed by the data type. As you can see, I lined up the data type. That's not required. It just makes your code look organized to some developers. Let's create a book service. We will use this book service to share data across multiple components. Now let's type in the command ng g service services /book space -- skip _ test. On line 2 of book.service.ts, let's import the iBook interface. Let's add the first method to the book service. Type in public get all books, and its return value is an array of iBook. It's now time to supply all the data to this project. Remember, this service, book service, will share this data with several other components. Press pause now and type in all the field and values for each record. Our second method is called getBookById. Notice it has one input parameter, the ID field, and its data type is number. Also notice the return value is just a single object of type iBook. Press pause now and type in the getBookById method. We will be doing some form development. Make sure you import form module like you see on line 4. We also created 2 components. You remember doing book details component and page not found? Let's add them as well. Then on line 11, let's add the book service we created. Notice on line 27, we are going to be using book service as a provider. Press pause now and make sure that you have app.module.ts complete. In the file app-routing.module.ts, from lines 1 to 7, make sure you have imported all your components. Lines 10 through 17, well, we're going to dive into this and make it easy. Line 20, notice that we're using the variable routes that we defined on line 10. Here you can see 2 round buttons with the values 1 and 2. 1 is the actual web page. 2 is the source code for app component HTML. I placed the source code on top of the web page to explain this. Now when the user clicks the 1, the anchor element, notice the router link gets assigned the array /book, 1. Router link goes through all the available routes, starting at the top, and asks, is the path empty? Nope. Then continues down the list, top to bottom. The next one, is it 1? No. Is it UL? No. Is it table? No. Is it book/ID? Yes. It then loads that component and displays the output into the router outlet element. Let's look at the router action in a different view. The user clicks on the UL anchor tag, the yellow button labeled 1. Then in the HTML, the router link is assigned /UL. The process starts looking through all the routes. It starts at the top, the empty route, and does the test. Are you the route we need? No. And then it continues to the next. Is 1, is that what we need? No. And then the route UL is tested. Are you the route we need? Yes. So then load to component and display in router outlet. That is the process. As you can see from folder 2, this is where the source code exists for 2.component. Only the HTML and TypeScript files have source code. Press pause now to type in the code for this component. As you can see in the HTML, I'm using ngFor to loop over the books object and only display the book title. On line 13 in the TypeScript file is where I define the books object. Notice in ToComponent, it implements onInit, and on line 17, the book service is used to call the method to get all books. You can also notice the constructor has 2 arguments, the book service and router. This is what is known as DI, or dependency injection. In the HTML on line 3, notice the event click is used. When the user clicks on a title, the onSelect method is called. On line 23, I use this router navigate. You already know that the routes from app-routing.module.ts will be used to call the appropriate URL. And here we have ThreeComponent. On the left is the HTML and the right TypeScript. The HTML is simple, a HTML table usingthead and tbody. Notice the ngFor. This will loop over the tr element for as many rows that are in the object books. Books is defined in the TypeScript on line 15. As with ToComponent, we are using the book service, sharing a single point of using data. Notice on line 22, we are calling the book service method getAllBooks and assigning the results to the variable books. In the HTML, line 16, notice that I'm using an event, click. When the user clicks on the button, I will call the method in the TypeScript called onSelect. That begins the navigation process. Here we are at the book details component. This component is very important to this demo. For example, when using component 3, the demo that was the HTML table with the view button, well, this is the component that got that route. And when using that unordered list and the user selected the book title, this is the component that gets routed to. I have created a separate video to teach forms. I recommend you look at my Angular 13 playlist and watch the forms video. Press pause now and type in the source code for book details component HTML and TypeScript. In the TypeScript at line 12, notice the component implements onInit, and the constructor has 2 arguments, the book service and activated route. In a moment, you will see me debug this control, and you will see how the onInit method works. Let us debug this app so you can see the steps. Notice I have my website, and I'm going to click on the UL button. It will load up a list of books from our book service. I will now click on the first item in the list, and that will execute the onSelect. Now notice here, it's already redirected me to book details component TypeScript. And I'm inside the method onInit. I'm in onInit because it implements onInit. Now when we first come in here, I hit F10 and notice it says route. And then you can see our next thing called snapshot. Snapshot and then parm. Let's debug that. So just highlight this route all the way to parms. Control C that. And hit enter. And then what is the value? Well, the value is 1. And look at the ID. The ID, you can see that here, and its value is 1. That will be assigned to str ID. Notice that we are using the get method to get a single entry. That will be assigned to str ID. Now str ID has the value 1, and I'm going to do a test, and I'm going to say, is that not equal null? Now if that's not null, I'm going to sit in here and we're going to go over to the book service, go to a method called getBookById, and I'm going to send in that value. Let's do that. Now I'm inside of book. Notice the ID is 1. Now I'm going to get all books. All books should have all the values. Notice that we have 5 books. Now I'm going to use the JavaScript function find, and the lambda expression says b, where b.id equals id. Well, that's the ID I sent in. This should return me 1 book. Now we'll look at book, and book tells me that's John Johnson, and learn TSQL using SQL Server. I'm then going to return that book. Notice book model now has that value, and if you keep looking over here, that will be updated. On the right side on top is the source code for page not found component TypeScript. And right underneath that is the HTML source code. Now on the top left is app-routing.module TypeScript. Notice on line 16, path then ***. Well, *** means undefined. I don't know what I'm looking for. A catch-all. I think you get it. Remember, routes are searched top-down. This is the last attempt to find a route that will work. If on line 16 is used, notice the output in the lower left corner, 404 page not found. Now press pause now and make sure you get this all typed in. And there you have it, team. Lesson 2, learning about routing in Angular 13. I hope learning about services and how to use interfaces, 2 great features, were beneficial, and maybe you'll use those in your next project. I hope that showing both the table grid layout and unordered list control with clickable events to route to different components is a nice nugget to own. If this video was informative and you could recommend it to your friends and colleagues, a thumbs up to tell Google, hey, show this video to more people. That would be cool. Thank you. And of course, if you have comments about this video, please leave them below. And that's all I have, team. I'll see you back in my next video. Have a great week. Adios.